Now listen, some of y'all might get with this and some of y'all won't. Some of y'all might understand this and some of y'all don't. But on the count of 3, I need everybody that is down with spiritual things to let me clear my throat. Ah! Have mercy, God. I hope you don't mind. Let me clear my throat. Welcome back to Spiritual Tings, the show where we present the gospel like you've never heard it before. And this is a special Into the Night edition, okay? Have you ever seen the movie Face Off? It's the movie where John Travolta's character cuts off his face and takes on the face of a criminal in a coma in order to get information about how to save Los Angeles from a bomb. Maybe not. Okay, well, your girl, that would be me, I am very much like a top soldier in the army of mission, right? Like, I'm like, what is the task? What do we need to get done? And I'm zoned in, laser out, focused until we get it done. At least that's how I grew up. That's how I developed my work style when I was growing up and I was on mission to be my best self. Then I got married and became a mom, and my mission shifted not just to personal work or personal ambition, but also to tending to the hearts of my children and being a, I don't know what you, being a loving wife for my husband. And all of that comes with a sort of tenderness and gentleness and sweetness and all this kind of stuff that your girl, as a stone cold killer for mission, was just not native to. And I feel like James 5:16, and it says, confess your faults one to another and pray one for another that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. Good evening. My name is Clarissa Joan Middleton, and I am a workaholic. And I'm also afraid of... No. Okay, let's be more clear. I'm afraid to be vulnerable. Yes. I'm from the streets, Memphis Bleak, and where I come from, crying and feeling and emotions and things like that, we don't do that. But then I became a mom. Then I fell in love with the man of my dreams. And then I realized that I was actually an artist, all by seeking first the kingdom. And all of those things require you to go with the flow, have tenderness, be a little bit more chill, and be oh so sensitive. And your girl, I ain't know nothing about that life, okay? Maybe in my poems I would be a little vulnerable, but I was like, in the spirit of my great-grandmother Ali, straight up no chaser, okay? Listen, we've got things to do, people. And so you take a moment right now and you think about, like, what's a truth that you've been encountering with yourself and that you've, that in order to surrender to this in a godly way requires you to operate differently. after you have told yourself your truth, right? After you've told yourself your truth, God is going to ask you to do things that are going to be against your worldly nature and that are going to be more true to who he has called you to be and who he made you to be. And it's going to be so unfamiliar, but you're going to have to adjust and let him transform you and do a new thing. And for me, being vulnerable and being tender and asking for help is so hard. It's just different. Like when you are used to being able to get things done a certain way and you can't get them done that way, it takes time to shift and learn how to operate differently. So that's why we are going into the night, because I want you guys to go into some shadow parts of yourself, some parts of yourself that you haven't really let the light shine on, and find a beautiful accountability partner this week and just pour out your heart. Some people, it may not, you may be very tender. You may love to cry. You may need to toughen up a little bit. You may need to do things the hard way, right? For some people, you may not be a workaholic. You may be a restaholic. You may need to in order to get on the course of your destiny, you may need to pick it up, right? And so we're going to just take some of James' advice. We're going to confess our faults. Faults necessary. I don't want y'all to look at faults as like something's wrong with you. I want you to look at faults as like this particular way of being is not serving you in your pursuit and intention and purpose in the season of your life. And that's very different than saying doing things this way or that way is bad. It's not this or that. It's how God needs to work through you this week. Or in this season. So the other thing about living on purpose and living as God imagined and taking the mask off and putting on the face of God, putting on the character of God is about discernment. And it's like, how do you discern what is the mask that you wear to protect yourself versus what is the face when you are comfortable just living authentically and being vulnerable? One is knowing your story, right? Do you know your story? Do you know your truth? So that's why we had to work on our truth. One is knowing your truth. The second thing is like you have a very particular feel to you when you're filled with the Holy Spirit, when you're filled with love, when you're operating at your best. And that feels much different than when you're forcing and when you are trying to go against the grain and when you're pretending to be something that you're not, or you're not truly flowing in your truth. And so in the movie, John Travolta's character used to touch his wife and touch his kids in a certain kind of way. And I just really love this example because it reminded me of like what it means when you're living as God imagined. That means the hand of God is on you. And that means the hand of love is on you. And love feels a particular way. And so for me, even though I didn't really grow up being super sensitive and like very emotional or expressing my feelings directly, when I am living in that truth as an artist, and when I am living in that truth as a mother, and when I'm living in that truth as a wife, and when I'm living in that truth with my friends who I've built the capacity to be that way with, because I had a lot of friendships that were built by the soldier me that didn't necessarily have an element of vulnerability. So I had to it's like Lauryn Hill, which I had to reintroduce myself to my mother and my father. You didn't know me because I didn't know me. Okay. Let a couple people know that too, y'all. Don't be afraid to let people know that I am changing. You don't know the way I am, okay? When you take the mask off and you put the face of God, and you see God face to face, and people can see the face of God in you, the face of love in you, there's a particular touch and feel. And it feels really glorious. It's hard to transition from the things that we were familiar with that we adopted when we had to go on mission and put the mask on, to letting those things go and just living with our face of godliness. But once we can do that, and once we are comfortable doing that, it feels, you make me feel. Okay? You're going to feel like a natural woman. You're going to feel like a natural man. You're just going to feel really filled up. This week, we're going into the night. We're not going to be afraid of our shadow sides, our inner man, and things that we have adopted in certain seasons of our lives that necessarily are not working for us right now. And we're going to have a accountability partner where we can confess what those things are, and they can help us start to take step by step to do things a little differently. And we're going to take off the mask of protection and put on the face of godliness, and really allow the touch of God on our lives to lead us forward. Let me tell you, baby, God gives us so much grace. God is so patient. God is so gentle. God is so kind. God has been so kind with me. He's been so patient with me. Literally, a lot of this has been growing in grace towards myself, because I didn't believe in grace. I didn't believe that I believed that I had to bust my ass. And that's not to say that you don't work hard. You do work hard, but you can be gentle. You can be kind. You can give yourself breathing room. You can pace yourself. So right now I'm working with the pace of grace, which when I was wearing my mask and I was on a mission, there was no grace. But now that the mask is off and I am truly seeing myself as a child of God, the pace of grace. And so I want to offer the pace of grace to you guys, or whatever else it is that you may need in this season where you are, in order to flow a little bit more with ease into the things that God has for you.